So friends, in closing arguments in Donald Trump's criminal prosecution in New York, prosecutors make the case to the jury as to why they should hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes, while Donald Trump's criminal defense attorney, Todd Blanche, decides to stoop just as low as his client. Let's talk about that, because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So friends, as closing arguments finish up in Donald Trump's first criminal trial, his first of 4, I want to take on one of the highlights and one of the lowlights. I want to start with one of the arguments made by Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass. It's an argument that I made countless times as a prosecutor, every time I found myself calling to the witness stand a co-conspirator, a cooperating witness, somebody like Michael Cohen, a member of the conspiracy who pleaded guilty to his own crimes, flipped and agreed to testify truthfully not only about his own crimes, but about the crimes of others. Prosecutor Steinglass used an argument that I used some variation of over and over again every time I put on the stand a cooperating witness like Michael Cohen. And then I want to turn to something that defense attorney Todd Blanche did during his closing argument on behalf of Donald Trump, something he did that was inarguably unethical, and something that once again proved what we have all known for a very long time: everything Trump touches dies. Or put another way, everyone who chooses to serve at the dirty knee of Donald Trump chooses to compromise their integrity, their principles, their ethics. But friends, let's start on a positive note. Here is what Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass said about Michael Cohen and the baggage that he brings with him as a cooperating witness. And remember, this is true of every single cooperating witness who admits to their crimes and testifies against one of their former co-conspirators, their criminal associates, testifies against the bigger criminal fish in the corrupt scheme. In this case, that bigger criminal fish, as we all know, is the big orange blowfish himself, Donald Trump. Here's what Joshua Steinglass told the jury about Michael Cohen's baggage. We didn't choose Michael Cohen to be our witness. We didn't pick him up at the witness store. The defendant chose Michael Cohen to be his fixer because he was willing to lie and cheat on Mr. Trump's behalf. Now, friends, I made that argument or some variation of that argument every single time I called a cooperating witness to the stand, whether it was in a relatively modest drug or violent crime conspiracy that I prosecuted, or it was one of the biggest RICO cases we ever brought in the history of Washington, D.C. federal court against an enormous criminal enterprise, criminal organization that had killed 31 people over time. And I would make a similar argument to what Joshua Steinglass told the jurors. I would say, not only do we not get to go to the witness store and pick our witnesses, because if I did, I'd go down to the witness store and I would say, give me those 3 church-going grandmas up on the shelf there and have them delivered to the courtroom so I can have them testify about the crimes of Donald Trump. Wait a minute. Donald Trump didn't pick 3 church-going grandmothers to commit these crimes with. He selected Michael Cohen, his attorney, his fixer, because he knew Michael Cohen would do his dirty work, would do his criminal bidding, would lie and cheat and steal, would do everything Donald Trump needed him to do to gain unfair advantage in the presidential election. No, Donald Trump picked Michael Cohen as a witness. We simply presented the person Donald Trump selected, his co-conspirator, his criminal associate, his partner in these crimes. So friends, Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass, in his nearly 5-hour closing argument, gave the jury every reason to hold Donald Trump accountable for his crimes. Now, in stark contrast, let's talk for a few minutes about the closing argument of defense attorney Todd Blanche, because Blanche engaged in big-ticket, unethical conduct in his closing argument. And before I turn to the new reporting, let me just frame it for you. All criminal litigators know, prosecutors and defense attorneys alike, or they should know, but frankly, they know. First-year law students know that a criminal defense attorney can never, ever argue to a jury, ladies and gentlemen, don't send my client to prison. Why? Because the matter of an appropriate sentence or punishment or sanction that might be imposed by a judge in the event of conviction is absolutely not the jury's concern. The jury's concern is exclusively whether the evidence that was introduced at trial proves the defendant's guilt beyond a reasonable doubt or not. They may not, and they are instructed by the judge, they may not take any possible punishment or sentence into account, because not only is it irrelevant, but it can be highly prejudicial to the prosecution's case. It would be like a defense attorney arguing, ladies and gentlemen, of course my client committed the crimes. The evidence proves that. But find him not guilty because you wouldn't want to send him to prison, would you? That is inarguably unethical conduct. It's an improper closing argument, and every criminal litigator, including Todd Blanche, who is always billing himself as a former federal prosecutor, knows. Okay, against that backdrop, here is the new reporting by Axios about Todd Blanche's unethical closing argument. Headline, highly inappropriate. Judge admonishes Trump attorney for jail remark. The judge overseeing former President Trump's New York criminal trial rebuked defense attorney Todd Blanche during closing arguments Tuesday, calling his suggestion that Trump could go to jail outrageous. It's not the first time Judge Juan Merchan has reprimanded Blanche for his conduct in the courtroom. Blanche suggested to the jury Tuesday that Trump could go to jail if he's convicted. The judge shot back, saying, "That was outrageous, Mr. Blanche. Someone who's been a prosecutor as long as you have, someone who's been an attorney as long as you have, knows that is highly inappropriate," per reporting by the Washington Post. It is simply not allowed, period, Judge Merchan said, per the New York Times. It's hard for me to imagine how that was accidental. The exchange came amid closing arguments in the historic case. Trump faces 34 felony charges relating to falsifying business records to obscure an alleged hush money payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels before the 2016 election. After closing arguments, a jury will decide whether to convict Trump of the charges. He has repeatedly denied wrongdoing in the case, although not from the witness stand, as he incessantly promised the American people he would do, saying over and over again, "I will testify," and then when the time came, he punked out. So yeah, Donald Trump maintained his innocence, but he couldn't bring himself to testify in his own defense. But I digress. Back to Blanche's improper argument. Here is some of the reporting from CBS News about what happened after the jury was excused from the courtroom. Once the jury was excused for a lunch break, Prosecutor Joshua Steinglass asked Judge Merchan to issue an instruction to the jury about sentencing, calling the comment a blatant and wholly inappropriate effort to gain sympathy for Trump. Judge Merchan agreed, saying the comment was outrageous and highly inappropriate, and he said he would give a curative instruction to the jury. When the court returned from lunch, Judge Merchan instructed the jury to disregard Blanche's remark. Indeed, he told them it was improper and that they should disregard that part of Blanche's argument. And then the judge went on to instruct the jury, a prison sentence is not required in this case in the event of a guilty verdict, said Merchan. So Judge Merchan did what he could to try to neutralize or mitigate the damage that may have been done by Blanche's unethical closing argument. And Blanche will almost certainly be referred to bar counsel for possible sanctions, as well he should, because there's no argument that this was a mistake, an accident, a misunderstanding. No, this was obviously an intentional calculation to violate the rules, just like his client does each and every day, did each and every day of his presidency, and it really does reinforce the point, something we've known for a very long time: everything Trump touches dies. But a New York jury now has an opportunity to bring a little bit of accountability to Donald Trump for just some of his crimes. And, you know, I will bet it matters to that jury just like it matters to you and me and most of the American people. Indeed, most of the people around the world who are rooting for America. We have so many friends in so many countries who are so supportive of our efforts to defeat an aspiring day one dictator. And we thank them for that support, and hopefully we can become better world citizens. But I think it does matter to the jury and to you and me and to the folks around the world who are fighting against dictatorships and autocracies, that justice matters. Friends, as always, please stay safe, please stay tuned, and I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.